Hello friends and welcome to another video. Today I want to share with you how I mix music and how you can implement certain mixing techniques for your composition. So let's just jump right into the computer. So I'm going to be using my latest composition as an example here. And the reason why is because it has a lot of guitars. Now, but this can be applied to any genre and with different instruments. So the first thing that you're going to notice here is that there's a lot of guitars. I have the drums as the first tracks, if you will. But the way this track started is with the piano. So I first need to know, or I need to figure out exactly what's going to be the chord progression. So for me, it all started with this piano. And actually, let me just loop this very quickly so you can see what I mean. So the track was built upon a loop, all right? So let me just lock myself here on a loop and then we'll dissect this music track. So the first thing that I came up with was this piano. So I like that sound, right? It sounds really modern. It's really intense. It's a lot of, the velocities is really hard, okay? But that's the first thing that I put. So you can see that the fader is already brought down because, you know, I feel that it's too upfront, right? This is not an EDM track. This is supposed to be a corporate pop rock track, but it has enough energy. Now the volume is just because, all right? That's the first instrument that I put. When I insert this piano, it's all the way to 0 dBs. I just bring it down a notch, just playing it by ear, literally, all right? The next thing that I do is try to grab a guitar and I compose a guitar part. So I'm thinking in terms of a corporate track. So that's the first thing that I have in mind. So I compose this guitar part. Okay, so it's a loop. It's a very simple guitar part, by the way. I mean, you don't need to be a guitarist in order to play this guitar part. Then I double that up, meaning that I record the same guitar part on a separate channel. So I got this, both of them. So all together, and I'm playing this to a click, of course. So this is what I will hear in the beginning of this composition. So right there, I feel that I'm in the right ballpark because I'm looking to compose a pop rock corporate track. I have the corporate in there somewhere, so I never deviate from that purpose. It's a corporate track. So that's why those first guitars. Now you can see that the fader are a little bit further up because it's a very low volume performance. So I bring the faders a little bit up. So I'm already mixing. This is where the mixing starts. Once you have two instruments, and what's the relationship between those two instruments? That's mixing. After this, I feel like, okay, it's a very fast moving track, but I still want to build it up. I'm tempted to put here the drums. I don't need the drums because I have the click right now, okay? So I don't want the drums right now. I just go for the second guitar part. Let me just isolate it and then we'll play everything together, okay? Actually, let me play with the other part so you can get the idea, or at least in context of what I'm doing here. This is exactly what I was listening to, and this is why I recorded this guitar part. And again, I double it up, so I don't copy paste the same part, I just record a separate part. And you can see that the faders are already, you know, a little bit uneven. It's a different sound as well. I believe I'm using a different amp for this, or on a different amp simulator, and this is what I'm doing. So obviously, as a guitarist, a technique for mixing is doubling up your parts, your guitar parts. So one guitar part, I'm playing it, then I record the same part on a separate channel, and then I pan the whole thing to the left and to the right, so I can create that wide effect, okay? It doesn't matter that the track might not be dead on the beat what I'm playing, because I want that separation, and you can only get that separation when there's imperfections in the performance. Now, obviously, you have to be in time, okay? But it doesn't matter if it's a little bit off, because actually that's what creates that three-dimensional effect. So after this, at this part, I am already feeling confident about it. You can see that I have added some EQ here. Just getting rid of any low frequencies really for the guitars, because I want to make room for the bass, but nothing fancy here. Okay, so from this point on, I go for a kick, and I'm using here just Apple Loops kick. Basic kick, it doesn't matter what you use, it's just a kick. So I'm kind of like building the momentum with this track. That sounds pretty solid to me already. From that point on, I start to think in terms of melody. So I have my chord progression, I have the guitars, which is serving the chord progression. So I'm building that skeleton for the chord progression and the track itself. Now I need a motif, I need a melody. I have certain parts of the rhythm, like I have the kick drum. The drums are gonna come in, but I don't wanna waste time with my drums right now. So I got the melody, and this is the first melody. Same technique, as you can see, the melody 2 here. I play the same melody on a separate track, and I bring it up or down depending on how I listen to this particular melody. So that's how I build that section. Then from this point on, obviously, is the drums. And I just use the drums here in Logic. You can see the faders, they are up and down depending on what I'm listening to. But those faders decisions, those positioning have been made while I'm writing the track, not afterwards. So when I put the drums, you can see like, oh, the drums might be a little bit too loud. So I bring the drums a notch down, okay? After that, this I believe is my whole section for that section. Yes, that's it. So what I do now, I want to move to the verse and play you that section now. So after this, I have a different section, which is this solo here. Let me undo all of this. So I'm working with the verse, or not the verse, the chorus, I should say. So that's like this solo, but all of the elements were here. There's the bass, the piano, the guitar, which is the corporate guitar that goes, the arp, the overdrive, but not the melody. So all of this together. Oh, I forgot the bass actually. Okay, so I add obviously after the drums, I have the bass, right? I forgot the bass. It's always like in the same order, all right? So it's the drums, and then obviously you feel this gap, and now it's the bass. So that's the bass there. If I take the bass away, okay? So I got my band there playing. From this point on, I actually try to add more elements. So for example, I have the tambourine here and some maracas as well. Again, look at the faders of the maracas and the tambourine. They're very, very low, and you can still hear it in the mix. But those decisions have been made as I'm adding those instruments. You can see the guitars as well. Okay, I have another guitar here. It's just giving it a little bit of, let me just do this like this very quickly for you. I'm doing this on the fly, by the way. This is probably not the best way to demonstrate this, but I mix that in the mix as much as possible. So now all that we have left is the transition, some effects, and some violins, okay? But all together it's like this. But you can see the faders are all up and down, and because it's a dance mix and I want to create a wall of sound, it can be a little bit challenging to achieve separation between the tracks. But mixing is nothing more than the relationship between the instruments. Okay, so this track here, you can probably not even hear it. I mean, if I mute it, you can probably see it go away. It's very subtle, okay? But as I am recording this, it feels big. And then in order to compensate for that, or in order to add to that idea, I create these violins here. Let me solo it. It's very basic violins, but this is complementing this idea here. And all together. So that's the ear candy, and that's it. There's nothing else. Then it's just transitions and effects. What is this here? This is a separate thing that I'm doing here with a track. This is just going. This is an effect actually here. It's very subtle. Let me see if I can play it from here. It's very basic, okay? It's just nothing special. But it's just creating certain elements of transition. And obviously I have the reverse cymbals, which every transition has. Okay? But that's been mixed, again, where is it? It's around here, all right? That I wanted to be really present there. But that's it. That's the mixing in itself. It's very simple. You can see the faders ups and down. It's a mess, right? But it all has to do with what's the relationship between each instrument and how this seems to blend all together, have enough separation, but not a lot of separation that it seems like people are being playing in different studios and whatnot, okay? It all sounds like a band is playing in the same room, and it all sounds like it's happening at the same time. All right, and that's the idea. The idea is that whether you're playing the instruments or you're making music with just VSTs and MIDIs and programming, the idea is to create this idea or this sound that everything is happening at the same time in the same room. If you're new to this and you would like to learn about stock music and how to license your music, download my free guide, link in the description. Thank you so much for all the love and support, and I'll see you in another video, my friend.